What's up, Muppet heads? It's me, PODAG, and I'm back for a very rare video. So last year, if you watched my channel and you were not a fan of the Muppets, I'm sorry. Because like every single week, starting from May, I believe it was, I made a video talking about the Muppet of the Week. And the Muppet of the Week was a term that I made up, I think, because I've been trying to find it on other websites and stuff. And so far, I just can't find it on like anything. Because it wasn't called the Muppet of the Week. It was called the Showcased Muppet of the 70th Anniversary Celebration or something like that. Or like Spotlight, Muppet Spotlight. That was stupid. I thought that was a stupid thing. So I said Muppet of the Week. So technically, I could still be doing Muppet of the Weeks. Because it was something I made up. But honestly, I don't know. I now I make like daily video. At least at the time I'm recording that, I make daily Muppet videos, which is like a whole nother thing. I don't know. I'm planning on chilling out with the Muppets, like everything, whenever I get to 1 year of doing Muppet stuff, which should be whenever I make my video of like, how was this last year of Muppets? Pretty, then I can branch out after that. I'm going to try at least. But this is the second ever PODAG playlist, and I figured a good one to make since I made literally 70 of these. Well, not 70 shorts, but I talked about 70 Muppets. I figured that I'd make one long compilation video where I talked about every single Muppet that was in the 70th celebration. Now, it's stupid that I'm recording this because as I'm recording it at this very moment, I'm starting to circle back on some of the Muppets of the Week and make shorts about the ones that I talked about in the long format video. But quite literally, as I'm talking about it right now, I've decided that I'm gonna put my long form video in this and every single Muppet of the Week. So you guys can learn about the 70 Muppets from the Muppets 70th anniversary if you guys want to. And they're all in one long video that's going to be like over an hour long. So strap in and get some popcorn if you want to learn about every single Muppet ever. Now the quality of this video is going to be very strange because the first thing we have in this PODAG playlist is me going back and talking about the first, like, what was it, 38 Muppets of the Week, which was a video that took me like a month to make. So it has a lot of high quality editing, at least by my standards. And then boom, as soon as we get to number 39, which is Beautiful Day Monster, the quality is going to drop all the way to the bottom because that was the first ever Muppet of the Week video I ever made, and I didn't know how to make YouTube shorts, and I have music in it, and I've changed a lot. And honestly, even towards like Miss Piggy, who's the last one, I still don't make, I don't make them like that anymore. I've changed it up a little bit, and I do like my style that I have right now as we talk. Right, it's probably going to change throughout time after this as well. But regardless of all of my weird editing quarrels I have with some of this, I think it's pretty cool that I can make a video of this caliber, and I committed to a bit 70 times. Over 70 times now, I guess, because I have started making ones about Waldo and Clifford and Louis Kazager and the armadillo in a tutu. But yeah, I don't know how many Muppet of the Week videos or Muppet of the Day videos I'm gonna eventually make in my lifetime. However, I thought you guys might like having a PODAG playlist where I talk about all of them. I'm excited to make more of these PODAG playlists. Hopefully I make more towards the summer whenever I'm like hopefully more free. And also I did this in my actual video, but I'm cutting that part out for the sake of like making them only about the Muppets of the Week. Please comment down below who your Muppet of the Week is. I am very serious about this. I think it would be cool because everybody has a birthday and you can link that to your Muppet. Mine is Nigel the Conductor. I've been over this, but my birthday is January 12th. Nigel the Conductor, that fell in his week. That's my Muppet of the Week. I only got one. Some people get two because the year overlapped a little bit because there's 52 weeks in a year and not 70. But besides that little introduction, subscribe if you want more PODAG playlists, and go check out my main channel because this is all from my main channel, Emil. It'll be linked in the description down below. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoy the second PODAG playlist. Rowlf the Dog was the first Muppet of the Week from his week spanning from August 23rd to August 29th. Besides Kermit the Frog, Rowlf was one of the first Muppets to reach national stardom. He was a member of the Jimmy Dean Show from 1963 to 1966. However, he first appeared in 1962 in a Purina Dog Chow commercial.
Purina Dog Chow will really make a hit with your dog.
Are you sure it'll make a hit?
Positive.
He was also one of the first non-abstract looking Muppet characters. Like, you could tell that Rowlf was supposed to be a dog. I mean, I guess the only part that didn't look very dog-like was his round head that was made out of a basketball. However, as you may know, Rowlf is not just a one-trick pony who knows how to play the piano.
Coddleston, Coddleston, Coddleston pie. A fly can't bird, but a bird can fly.
He's a wisecracking and punny guy who actually is bilingual and can speak English and knows how to speak dog.
Let me talk to him. Woof, 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 woof. It helps to know a second language.
Another notable thing about Rowlf was that he was originally voiced by the late, great Jim Henson.
Hey! Son of a
And I think this detail is crucial because a lot of people that were close to Jim Henson say that Rowlf's personality was the kind of personality that resembled Jim Henson most. Which is why after Jim Henson passed, Rowlf showed up in a lot of non-speaking roles in the background. There's a point in time where people thought out of respect they were never going to recast Rowlf, but since he was such a lovable character, he was eventually voiced by Bill Beretta. Lew Zealand was the next Muppet of the Week, and his week spanned between August 30th and September 5th. Rowlf is pretty famous, but Lew Zealand is a little niche indie underground, but basically he can be summed up as being the guy who throws the boomerang fish.
Jeez, I'll do my boomerang fish. I throw them away, and they come back to me.
He first appeared in season 3, episode 10 of The Muppet Show, where his boomerang fish skill actually came in pretty handy because he used his boomerang skills into stopping Miss Piggy to tricking Kermit into marrying her on a sketch on The Muppet Show. He was designed by Dave Goelz using a whatnot head. And here's your first piece of Muppet vocabulary that I'm probably going to use multiple times throughout this video. Whatnots are blank Muppet heads, and here you can put on facial features, costumes, and anything to make them whatever kind of character you want. And probably my favorite thing that Lew Zealand does is refer to Kermit as Mr. the Frog.
What, to kidnap people?
To work together.
To kidnap people?
Mr. the Frog, we all agreed a celebrity is not a people.
The third Muppet of the Week is Pops, and his week spanned from September 6th to September 12th. And no, this isn't Pops from regular show. He first appeared in season 5, episode 1 of The Muppet Show. Here he replaced Scooter's little cold opens where he would tell the guest star that it's almost time for them to start the show. And he would be an elderly doorman that kind of didn't know who any of the guest stars were.
Who are you? Who are you? Who are you?
And probably the most notable thing you would know Pops from would be being the owner of the Happiness Hotel in The Great Muppet Caper. The fourth Muppet of the Week is Baby Skeeter, from their week going from September 13th to September 19th. Baby Skeeter is Scooter's twin sister, and she was designed to specifically be a character on the original 1984 Muppet Babies show. And with that being said, she has never been a Muppet in real life. I mean, there's been marketing photos of like puppet Baby Skeeter, but like there's no actual puppet Skeeter that has appeared outside of like photos. The reason why they created her for the Muppet Babies was because the only girl on the show was Miss Piggy. And you know Miss Piggy, she's all about glamour and pink and a lot of girly stuff. But sorry to tell you this, but not every single girl is a female stereotype. So they introduced Skeeter to the Muppet Baby crew and had her as a foil to Miss Piggy and Baby Scooter, I guess. However, there was only 2 girls on the show, so whenever there was like a girls part when they played pretend, they would typically fight over who gets to play what. She was voiced by Howie Mandel in the first 2 seasons, Frank Welker in the rest, and Cree Summer in the reboot in 2018. In fact, the only Muppet shows she's ever appeared in was the original Muppet Babies and the 2018 reboot. The reason for her disappearance is not actually clear, but some of the people behind the Muppets have said that she's either lost on an adventure in the rainforest or she went on a Buddhist retreat because she had a spiritual awakening. But a lot of them just kind of say, I don't know. The fifth Muppet of the Week was Koozebanian Mama. Her week ran from September 20th to September 26th. She first appeared in the Muppet Valentine Show, something that I've talked extensively about on this channel. Here she takes part in the Gallio Hoop Hoop with a male Koozebanian creature. And what is the Gallio Hoop Hoop, you might be asking? It's actual reproduction. Sorry I'm being blunt about it, that's just what it was. They kind of say that in the Muppet Valentine's show. She's appeared in the background sometimes, but the biggest role she's ever had was being inside of the Gallio Hoop Hoop, which is crazy because the biggest thing she was ever known for was being inside of a mating ritual. The 6 Muppets of the week were Wayne and Wanda. Their week ran from September 27th to October 3rd. Wayne and Wanda were Sam Eagle's favorite singing duo because they were wholesome, uplifting, and decent, apparently.
Once again, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce to you those 2 solid citizens of song, Wayne and Wanda. Decent people.
They were prominently featured in The Muppet Show, and all their sketches were the exact same thing, where they would start singing about something, and then something actually terribly horrible would go wrong.
Don't know why there's no sun up in the sky, stormy weather. Never see a poem lovely as a tree.
Wanda was introduced in season 1, episode 1 in an At the Dance segment where she danced with Mana Mana. Wayne was introduced in season 1, episode 2, complaining that his act was cut in a backstage segment. And their first duo performance was in season 1, episode 3. But they really only did these segments in the first season of The Muppet Show, because after Wanda's voice actress Erin Oscar left, I guess they didn't feel like recasting her. Wayne does come back a little bit throughout The Muppet Show because he kind of just appears as like a random Muppet whatnot, I guess. But in season 4, episode 6, Wayne and Wanda showed up and asked Kermit why they were fired.
I don't know, it's been such a long time ago, I don't really remember why I fired you. Right now, on this very spot, I'm gonna rehire you. Yes,
No.
yes I will. Ladies and gentlemen, here they are once again, Wayne and Wanda.
Wanda. Oh. Wanda, my dear. Oh, sweet mystery of life, at last I found you. No.
And then after The Muppet Show, they didn't really appear in anything besides the 2011 Muppets and Muppets Most Wanted. But they brought back like every obscure Muppet in those. Speaking of which, the 7th Muppet of the week was Mo Frackle. His week spanned from October 4th to October 10th. His first appearance was actually on the Muppet team whenever they appeared on Family Feud. However, a Frackle is another piece of Muppet vocabulary. And Frackles are little creature, demon, little monster guys. I don't know. And they first appeared in the Great Santa Claus Switch in 1970. He claims to be from Frackle Island, and he was discovered by Kermit on a vacation there. He's also named after Moe from the Three Stooges. His feature film debut was The Muppets 2011, however, he is still getting used today. Matter of fact, he appeared a lot in the Muppets Haunted Mansion. The 8th Muppet of the week was Yolanda. Her week was October 11th to October 17th. Yolanda's first appearance was in The Muppets Take Manhattan, and she first appeared having a job at Pete's Luncheonette. And probably the biggest question about Yolanda is if she's dating Rizzo. Apparently she's not. I think Rizzo just kind of flirts with her because she's like the only female rat around. But yeah, apparently they're just friends. In the Muppet Studios interactive video game, You're the Director, it was actually confirmed that her name is Yolanda Steele.
On our boss, the head of the studio, Yolanda Steele. And here she comes now.
So, are you ready to direct the what?
And probably her biggest role ever was when she was in The Muppets 2015, where she works on the staff of Up Late with Miss Piggy, and is studying to become an ultrasound technician. The 9th Muppet of the week was the Swedish Chef. His week spanned from October 18th to October 24th. If you don't know who the Swedish Chef is, the Muppet Wiki describes him as the incomprehensible preparer of foodstuffs, and he first appeared in the Muppet Show Sex and Violence. Although he was originally voiced by Jim Henson, a lot of the hand work he did was the hands of Frank Oz. So those realistic hands on the Swedish Chef are Frank Oz's actual hands. Also, I didn't know this. Apparently he was so popular in the year 1988 that he had his own cereal called Crunchy Stars. And later on, when the Swedish Chef was voiced by Bill Beretta, he typically used the hands of Steve Whitmire. This is actually why in his modern appearances he has a ring on his finger, because one time when they were filming, Steve Whitmire left his ring on his finger, so now just just canonically, the Swedish Chef is married. I hope they have a loving relationship. The 10th Muppet of the week was the Muppet Ghost. His week was from October 25th to October 31st. He was the Halloween one. The first time this kind of Muppet Ghost has appeared was in season 1, episode 19 of The Muppet Show, aka the Vincent Price episode, aka my favorite episode of The Muppet Show. This ghost design is specifically the Muppet Ghost design because he looks like a person wearing a sheet, and he's kind of just got little eye holes and a mouth. He's very simplistic, but I think the Muppet Ghost might be like kind of one of my favorite designs for a ghost in any kind of fiction ever. Also, typically how they make the ghost look transparent is by filming them against a black, green, or blue screen. And after that, they're composited into the shot, and it gives them a transparent and floating look to them. I don't know, it's a Muppet Ghost. The 11th Muppet of the week was Zoot. His week was from November 1st to November 7th. Zoot first appeared in the Muppet Show Sex and Violence with the rest of the Electric Mayhem. And apparently he's a 50-year-old burnt out musician. Sax is his axe. And he's probably most well known for doing that last saxophone note at the end of the Muppet Show. He talked a lot more when he first was conceived as a character, but Dave Goelz, I think, kind of describes him as a silent, probably stoner type. The Muppet Wiki didn't say stoner, but he's probably zooted all the time.
This is a meeting? Oh. I'm Zoot, and I'm...
Different meeting.
In the Muppets Mayhem, it's confirmed that his full name is Zootowski, and also the series establishes that he has 2 belly buttons. And in Muppets Letters to Santa, he is confirmed to be Jewish. Apparently, Bonnie Erickson designed Zoot to look like an Argentinian sax player named Gato Bier. Sorry, I don't know how to say that guy's name, but it's on the screen right now. The 12th Muppet of the week was Behemoth, also known as Gene. His week was November 8th and November 14th. He's that big orange guy that I'm sure you've probably seen randomly in the background. And he first appeared in season 1, episode 14 of The Muppet Show. Here, he was a full body character, and he looks a little different than he does now, but it's apparently still the same guy. Of course, the term behemoth refers to him being a large, giant creature, and he was first called this in season 2, episode 5 of Muppets Tonight. However, once Bill Barretta started voicing the character in 2011, he named him Gene, after his brother, who's an animator and illustrator named, you guessed it, Gene Barretta. Apparently, the reason behind his name being Gene and also Behemoth is that Gene is his real name, while Behemoth is his stage name. That's pretty interesting detail that I might look back on whenever I make another Muppet lore video, okay? Go check that out if you can. However, this name goes even deeper because he has a nickname that he's credited as in the Muppets Haunted Mansion, which is Clean Gene. This was also an idea given by Bill Barretta because he thought it would be funny if he was like a monster obsessed with like cleanliness. The 13th Muppet of the week was Animal, from November 15th to November 21st. Animal is the crazed drummer of the Electric Mayhem, and of course he first appeared in the Muppet Show Sex and Violence. But unlike the rest of the band, Animal was kind of locked up in a cage backstage, kind of a sewer backstage, and that's how he made his first appearance. Animal claims that drummer Buddy Rich is one of his idols, and he's been playing the drums since 1971.
Animal, why don't you tell our audience, how long have you been playing the drums? 1, 2, 3, 5 years, huh?
Also, him being an ambiguous animal has led to a lot of different things. Number 1, he has a really good sense of smell, and he was able to determine that Constantine was disguising himself as Kermit in Muppets Most Wanted. And Frank Oz claims that the reason why he's animal is because all drummers are animals. You know, I really resonate with that. Also, I don't know how canon the Muppets Mayhem is to the actual like lore of the Muppets, but apparently they do a lot of backstory in that, and it's revealed that Animal was adopted as a baby by Sergeant Floyd Pepper. Baby Yoda TikTok, Baby Animal Instagram Reels. The 14th Muppet of the week is Walter, spanning from November 22nd to November 28th. Of course, Walter was first introduced as the protagonist of the Muppets 2011. He's 20-something years old. You know, I really resonate with that. And his biggest dream was to meet his heroes, the Muppets, and probably join their troupe, which is what the entirety of Muppets 2011 is about. Something I didn't know about Walter, though, is that he's named after the first puppet that Jason Segel ever owned, you know, named Walter. And apparently his paycheck for the Muppets 2011 was equivalent to 67 movie tickets for that movie. The 15th Muppet of the week was Link Hogthrob, November 29th to December 5th. Link Hogthrob is the narcissistic cleft-ching pig from Pigs in Space, and he first appeared in season 2, episode 3 of The Muppet Show. Unlike some characters that are featured just in their segments, he would appear a lot on stage and off stage. Apparently his blonde hair is fake and he wears a toupee and a girdle because he's so vain. And also, if you didn't know this, his last name is a pun on the word heartthrob because he's a heartthrob actor. And similar to Rowlf, this character was almost retired after the tragic passing of Jim Henson. This is because, according to Brian Henson, whenever Jim Henson had to do very adult activities like cutting the Thanksgiving turkey, he would do the Link Hogthrob voice where he'd be like, I am cutting the turkey. I don't voice Link Hogthrob. I really don't, so I'm not gonna try to do the impression. The 16th Muppet of the Week was the Ghost of Christmas Present, December 6th, December 12th. His one and only appearance was in the Muppet Christmas Carol, where he is quite literally just a puppet version of the Ghost of Christmas Present seen in Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol.
Ho, 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 ho. Come in and know me better, man. Ho, 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 ho.
He can morph between being like a giant to being super tiny, and his time upon the globe is very brief, and he ages right in front of Michael Caine. The 17th Muppet of the Week was the Muppet Tomato, December 13th to December 19th. The Muppet Tomato, along with all the other singing Muppet foods, first showed up in season 2, episode 8 of The Muppet Show. The Muppet Tomato is in a collection of anthropomorphic singing fruits, which also include a potato, scallions, a cabbage, a cauliflower, an asparagus, a cantaloupe, a few bunches of grapes, and a pack of beans. They've appeared many times, just kind of all together. The 18th Muppet of the Week was Robin the Frog. He got Christmas. If you didn't know, Robin is Kermit's nephew, besides in the Muppet Christmas Carol, where he plays Kermit's son, Tiny Tim.
God bless us.
God bless us, everyone.
His whole thing is that a lot of people don't notice him because he's so tiny, and he's best friends with Sweetums. Robin first appeared in the 1971 special, The Frog Prince, where he played the prince when he turned into a frog. But that was his non-canonical appearance. The first time he ever showed up as Kermit's nephew was in season 2, episode 12 of, you guessed it, The Muppet Show. Apparently Robin is named Robin because he was born in canon on the first day of spring. So he's named after the bird, Robin. The 19th Muppet of the Week was Crazy Harry. He was December 27th to January 2nd. He got New Year's Eve, probably because, he likes explosives. Matter of fact, that's his entire thing. If you say anything remotely close to explosion or, wow, this place about to blow up, he just comes in and then just lets off a bomb.
And so that means our show tonight should be a real bang-up affair.
Did somebody say bang?
No.
He first appeared in the Muppets Valentine show named Crazy Donald. This was a reference to one of the Muppet builders who's typically focused on a lot of the pyrotechnics. However, in the Muppet Show Sex and Violence, his name changed to Crazy Harry. And apparently, I'm not making this up, I read this on the Muppet Wiki, after 9/11, they stopped using Crazy Harry as much because they said explosions weren't as funny anymore. The 20th Muppet of the Week was Thog. He was January 3rd to January 9th. Thog's original appearance was 9.5 feet tall, and he first appeared as a henchman in The Great Santa Claus Switch, where he was partnered with a green monster named Fig. In an early interview, Jim Henson said that Thog was a large Frackle. Remember that term from earlier? But people say that's not true. And they say he is not a Frackle. So what is a Frackle? What are we gonna define it as specifically? The 21st Muppet of the Week is Nigel the Conductor. He was from January 10th to January 16th. My birthday! Nigel first appeared as the host in the Muppet Show pilot, The Muppet Show Sex and Violence. Here he was the host, but he kind of became Nigel the Conductor once he joined the Muppet Show crew, because he was the conductor inside of the Muppet Show's band. In fact, in season 1, episode 23, it's confirmed that he was the one that wrote the Muppet Show theme song.
Because your noble conductor, Nigel, here, has offered to write a new theme.
We're leaving.
Yeah, but why?
He wrote the first one, man.
Unlike most Muppets, he has eyelids on top of his eyes. And apparently Nigel isn't even his first name, because whenever they were trying to refurbish him to put him in a museum, they found out his name was Walter. I feel like Walter's name may have more of an origin than just Jason Segal's puppet. Oh, wow. Like the 22nd Muppet of the Week was totally Janice. She ran from January 17th to January 23rd. Janice was the lead guitar player inside of the Electric Mayhem, and you guessed it, she first appeared in the Muppet Show Sex and Violence along with the rest of them. Typically, it's alluded that she has some kind of on and off again relationship with Floyd, who's the bass player in the Electric Mayhem. We'll get to him later. And as much as she's kind of shown to be a hippie, she is in fact a flower child because her mom's name is Daisy. Also, she's allergic to lying. She sneezes every time she lies. The 23rd Muppet of the Week is Bubba the Rat, January 24th to January 30th. There isn't much to say about Bubba the Rat. He first appeared in the Muppets from Space, and he is a tough talking Brooklyn accent kinda lab rat.
How you doing? I'm Bubba.
He's that for like the rest of time. How you doing? The 24th Muppet of the Week is Camilla, January 31st to February 6th. Camilla the chicken is the specific chicken that Gonzo is in love with, and she first was introduced in season 3, episode 18 of The Muppet Show, where she and Gonzo have their first date ever. Similar to how Miss Piggy started off as just a pig in the background, and Rizzo started off as just a background rat, Camilla evolved from being just a random chicken in the background. Now, here's the thing about Gonzo and Camilla's relationship. He dearly loves Camilla, but unfortunately, he can't tell any of the chickens apart. So whatever chicken he's chasing after in the moment, to him, that is Camilla.
Wow, nice looking chickens. What? Oh, no hard feelings, honey.
Gonzo loves the idea of Camilla more than he actually does the specific chicken Camilla. This is crazy stuff, man. The 25th Muppet of the Week is Sergeant Floyd Pepper, February 7th to February 13th. Bass is Floyd's ace, and he first appeared in the Muppet Show Sex and Violence. However, similar to Animal, he wasn't introduced with the rest of the band. He first was introduced as kind of a tertiary host, maybe a secondary host with Sam Eagle and Nigel for the show. And if you didn't know, Floyd's whole aesthetic slash costume is based after a Beatles album, which is entitled Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Sergeant Floyd Pepper, Sergeant Pepper, you know. Some of his musical influences are Fats Waller, Fats Domino, Minnesota Fats, and David Fathead Newman.
Well, what in the name of Fats Waller is that?
A 4-foot prune.
A 4-foot prune.
Also, in 2016, he was apparently 43 years old. So that makes him, how many years ago was 2016? 52 now? The 26th Muppet of the Week is Polly Lobster, February 14th to February 20th. He got Valentine's Day. Yeah, Miss Piggy apparently was mad about this in an Instagram video, but this guy first appeared in Muppet's Treasure Island. Although he is called Polly Lobster, some people call him Bad Polly, and he is the companion of Long John Silver in the Muppet's Treasure Island. He also appeared in 7 episodes of Muppets Tonight, and that's all he did. The 27th Muppet of the Week is Dr. Bunsen Honeydew, February 21st to February 27th. Although starting on season 1, episode 8 of The Muppet Show, he first appeared alone. In season 2, that's when he would get his partner, maybe in more ways than one, Beaker. Bunsen Honeydew's name comes from the scientific instrument called the Bunsen burner, and the shape of his head, which looks, you know, like a honeydew. Also in 2004, he won an internet poll for Britain's favorite cinematic scientist. And one of the people that they beat was Spock from Star Trek by a margin of 2-1. And now I'm gonna run back to the Beaker thing. Do you guys think you guys think they're dating? Like, yeah, it's kind of toxic because Beaker will literally get abused, like physically, for Dr. Bunsen Honeydew. Is he a loyal companion? Is he more than that? Me personally, I think they're low-key romantically interested in each other.
Bunsen and Beaker, why are you wearing each other's clothes?
If it happens outside of work, we don't owe him an explanation.
The 28th Muppet of the Week is Beaker, from February 28th to March 6th. Beaker first appeared in season 2, episode 2 of The Muppet Show, and Kermit described him by saying that if somebody's gonna get hurt, it's gonna be Beaker. Also, in the 3rd season, apparently he was a stagehand along with Beauregard. And an interesting trait of Beaker that I really like is the fact that whenever he gets electrocuted, his eyes light up. And contrary to popular belief, he doesn't only just go, me, 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 me. There has been instances where he said like small little phrases.
But the effect is sadly temporary.
But since he has such a limited speak, a lot of Muppet people have said that he really, really likes the internet because he can actually talk on the internet and he doesn't feel the need to just meep, you know? And I'm adding this in here for me. I did it in another Muppet of the Week. I might as well bring it in here. In the 2011 Halloween episode of Monday Night Raw, it was confirmed that he's the Celtic warrior Seamus's cousin.
Oh, I'm afraid I can't make the family reunion this year. I know, man. Listen, do me a favor, will you please tell Aunt Teresa I said hello, yeah?
Put that in your pipe and smoke it, fella. The 29th Muppet of the Week is Pepe the King Prawn. His week was March 7th to March 13th. He is a king prawn from Spain, voiced by Bill Beretta. The fact that he is voiced by Bill Beretta is pretty important because apparently a lot of his attributes were from Bill Beretta's personal experience. Apparently, Bill Beretta was talking with Kirk Thatcher about a new character based on his wife's aunt, and he mistakenly called her a little shellfish. So they ran with that and made him a little shellfish. His original motive was that he kind of wanted to make it in Hollywood, but he had kind of a language barrier. But it kind of turned into Pepe just being like a sexual icon, like on the same level as like Sabrina Carpenter. Also, when he was first introduced, he kind of had like an elephant sidekick. So they thought about originally making him a mouse, but they thought that the mouse elephant thing was a little too cheap. His partner Seymour the elephant hadn't appeared since Muppets Tonight, where they both worked in an elevator, starting in season 1, episode 2 of Muppets Tonight. The 30th Muppet of the Week is Mildred Huxtetter, March 14th to March 20th. She first appeared in the Muppets Valentine's show. And apparently, nobody really knew what she did in the Muppet Theater whenever she was actually on the Muppet Show. She kind of just showed up. She was randomly in sketches and she was randomly just backstage. What does she do? But apparently she's extremely well educated because she has a bachelor's, a master's, a PhD, an OBE, and an RSVP. Also, she has kids because in season 1, episode 8 of The Muppet Show, it's revealed that she has a grown son.
You say that's your boy? Huh, how could you have a son that age? I didn't. When I had him, he was just a baby.
I would just like everyone to know before I do this next Muppet of the Week, I was right here filming the video. I was at this point filming the video whenever they announced that the Muppet Show is coming back in 2026. What timeline are we living in right now? The 31st Muppet of the Week was Constantine, the world's most dangerous frog, March 21st to March 27th. Constantine first appeared in Muppets Most Wanted, and he is most well known for being, of course, the world's most dangerous frog and being a doppelganger of Kermit the Frog. Now, let me point out all the key differences between Constantine and Kermit the Frog, because in the movie, they look really similar, and you're supposed to like know, oh, this one's Constantine and this one's Kermit. Obviously, the most obvious one is the mole right on his face. The other one is that he is in kind of a constant frown, opposed to Kermit's constant smile. Also, his 11-point collar that Kermit has is like a lot smaller. So yeah, those are the key differences between Constantine and Kermit. And not only is his appearance different, but Matt Vogel made it a point to make his movement a lot more stiff, and his voice was inspired by General Orlov from the James Bond movies. Also in canon, Constantine is played by one of Kermit's cousins. The 32nd Muppet of the Week is Dr. Teeth, baby. Technically, the first time Dr. Teeth appeared on a Muppet programming was not The Muppet Show Sex and Violence. I mean, I guess that's the first time he's appeared as an actual Muppet character. The first time he ever appeared was on the Mike Douglas Show on the February 5th, 1975 edition. He is the leader of the Electric Mayhem, previously the Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem. And he's gone through a transition that not a lot of Muppets have done, which is he started with like rod moving hands, and then he transitioned into like actual puppeteering hands, you know? In Muppets Mayhem, it was revealed that he is an accredited dentist, and he's inspired by jazz keyboardist Dr. John Taylor. A working name for him was Leon Dr. Elton John Don't Shoot the Piano Player, and his vocabulary is a reference to Dr. John. The 33rd Muppet of the Week was Rizzo the Rat. He was April 4th to April 10th. He first appeared on season 4, episode 18 of The Muppet Show, and he didn't get a name until season 4, episode 22. As you may know, he is good friends with Gonzo and Pepe, and his original rat puppet was made out of a bottle. Thinking about it right now, you might be like, a bottle? That doesn't make sense, but then look at the actual puppet from The Muppet Show, and it makes a lot more sense. Rizzo is named after Ratso Rizzo, character from Midnight Cowboy, and he's from Jersey. Surprise, surprise. He was kind of a standard background character in a lot of the Muppet media until his big break in the Muppet Christmas Carol.
Hey, light the lamp, not the rat, light the lamp, not the rat.
My
What
apologies.
Are you doing? Put me out, put me out, put me out. Rizzo, what? Ah!
This is where it really solidified his friendship with Gonzo and made him a main character inside of the Muppet universe. However, that didn't last too long because they couldn't find a spot for him in the Muppets 2011. Also, after Steve Whitmire was fired in 2017, Rizzo hasn't appeared much after that because a lot of Rizzo was based off of stuff from Steve Whitmire. Like, he kind of invented that character. My favorite thing Rizzo has done, though, is probably do that little salt shaking scene in Muppets Take Manhattan, or whenever he dressed up as Mickey Mouse in Muppet Vision 3D.
Well, of course, certainly. Ladies and gentlemen, we have an unexpected surprise. I have the great honor of introducing the one, the only, Mr. Mickey Mouse.
Hello, hi there. Welcome to my park. How you doing? Hello.
The 34th Muppet of the Week is Joe the Legal Weasel. Joe the Legal Weasel, also sometimes referred to as Joe from Legal, was first introduced in a marketing thing for the Disney Plus show Muppets Now. Typically, he's there to offer safety guidance to whatever's about to happen, and his whole thing is he just makes a lot of legal jokes and is there to not get the Muppets sued, I guess. Also, apparently, he was originally a prairie dog Muppet, and he was named Pedro the Prairie Dog. However, he does not want you to know this, and if he writes it on any legal document, it will be redacted. Right in the middle of the road, the 35th Muppet of the Week was Bean Bunny, April 18th to April 24th. This was another one of Steve Whitmire's babies. And after his first appearance in The Tale of the Bunny Picnic, Jim Henson tried to push him so hard as a main Muppet character. His whole thing was that they tried to make him insufferably cute. In fact, in the Jim Henson Hour, apparently they said that the only things that would get views on television was sex, violence, and Bean Bunny.
So just go, shoot, shoot, shoot. Oh, that's the last thing I need. You know, this ratings thing is really kind of...
Wow, look at those ratings. Those are the best we've ever had.
Oh, Bean, come back, Bean.
Bean's biggest role ever was probably in Muppet Vision 3D. Here, he was a main character who just wanted to leave the Muppets because nobody liked him. And this goes back into the fact that Jim Henson was trying to push him so hard right before he passed. Matter of fact, he was one of the Muppets that they made a walk-around character in the park when characters like Scooter or Rowlf just weren't walking around in the park. Bean Bunny got a character and they didn't. Apparently, according to Frank Oz, Jim Henson built a character named Bean Bunny so people could think he's cute and take the onus off the other Muppets, but it didn't work and they thought everybody was cute.
Kermit up here.
Oh, hi, Bean.
I brought a balloon with me. Say hello to Mr. Balloon.
You see, we hired Bean to be cute, so the rest of us don't have to bother.
Aw, you didn't say hello to him. Now you hurt his feelings.
I don't know. His whole thing is that he's really cute. That's why he's my girlfriend's favorite Muppet, probably. The 36th Muppet of the Week was Dolores the Trombone Player. She first appeared in this special that I don't know how to pronounce, and I'm just gonna refrain from saying it because I don't know how to say it. And in a lot of things, she's referred to as the Trumpet Girl, even though she's more well-known as playing the trombone. Apparently, after Lips showed up and joined the Muppet band, he played the trumpet, and she got regulated to playing the trombone. So now she just forever became the trombone player. The 37th Muppet of the Week was Dr. Julius T. Strangepork, May 2nd to May 8th. Dr. Julius Strangepork was the elderly pig in Pigs in Space. He talks with a German accent, and he was actually the only one that knew, like, how things worked on the spacecraft. He first appeared alongside Link Hogthrob in Season 2, Episode 3. He was not typically outside of that. However, I will say this one note. In The Muppet Show Sex and Violence, there's a segment called Return to Beneath the Planet of the Pigs. And there's a guy that looks eerily similar to him. So it's not confirmed that it's him, but low-key, that's the first time he ever showed up. So, I mean, he kind of predated Pigs in Space. However, the final Muppet that I will be covering in this video, and the Muppet that I missed right before I started making videos. I actually started the week after the 70th anniversary. They did this guy for the 70th anniversary. You guessed it. The 38th Muppet of the Week was Kermit the Frog, May 9th to May 15th. I came back to YouTube on the 16th. It's almost like I planned it that way. Who's to say, really? Similar to Rowlf, he appeared way back when on Jim Henson's first show, Sam and Friends. Here, he wasn't even actually a frog. It took him until The Frog Prince, where Robin showed up, in order for him to get the frog persona. In Sam and Friends, he was just an ambiguous lizard. And there's so much other information I can say about Kermit the Frog, so I'm just gonna say a lot of fun facts and interesting details about him. Because if you really want to know everything about Kermit the Frog, I could make a whole feature-length video about everything to do with Kermit the Frog. He's probably the most popular Muppet, as he's on the logo and he first appeared in Sesame Street. And apparently addressing that Miss Piggy issue about like if they were ever married and if they were dating, apparently the answer is that every single wedding that Miss Piggy and Kermit had was staged for a movie. And Kermit claims that they have a completely professional relationship, whereas Miss Piggy is in denial and she is head over heels in love with Kermit the Frog. I've talked about this in videos before, but there was a point in time where people thought that Kermit the Frog was over commercialized and he was a children's character because he was on Sesame Street so much. So there was also a point in time where Jim Henson tried to come up with a new major Kermit the Frog type character, but it didn't work because you can't outdo the doer, which is Kermit the Frog. Which is why, as the Muppet Show was being developed, they started with some guest stars like Wally in the Muppets Valentine's Show and Nigel in the Muppet Show Sex and Violence. But eventually they decided that Kermit had to be the protagonist, main character, host of the Muppet Show because he's the most famous Muppet ever. Of course, for such an iconic character like Kermit the Frog, he's had 3 prominent voice actors. He's had Jim Henson, Steve Whitmire, and now he's voiced by Matt Vogel. Matt Vogel is the one that a lot of people are like, but I don't know. He's getting a lot better with it, I will admit. I saw his speech at Maryland University, and he's starting to sound a lot more like Kermit the Frog.
Dreams are how we figure out where we want to go. Life is how we get there.
Dreams are how we figure out where we want to go. And life is how we get there.
I think Matt Vogel has the chops to eventually take over, but it is going to take a lot of getting used to because, you know, switching any voice actor is going to take a lot of getting used to because it's changing what you're used to. Who is this beautiful blue Muppet with a very large snout? This is the Muppet of the Week, aka Beautiful Day Monster. His name Beautiful Day Monster comes from his appearance on the Ed Sullivan Show, where he was in a sketch with a little girl and he tried to ruin her beautiful day. However, he fails and shrinks down until he's hit with a fly swatter. He's had many names and designs over the years, but Beautiful Day Monster is his most general name. If you don't know him from this, you might know him from a few segments on The Muppet Show. 2 Muppet Show sketches that he's most known for are, number 1, Sandy Duncan's rendition of A Nice Girl Like Me. Here, he plays a bartender. The second sketch you might know him from was on the Paul Williams episode of The Muppet Show. Here, he tries to get a flight and continuously asks him,
"You got anything cheaper?"
Yeah, I think I can work something out for you, pal.
So now you know who Beautiful Day Monster is. And if you want more Muppet content like this, hit subscribe and go to my channel. And join me next week where I'll ask, Sweetums, I hardly know him. This week's Muppet of the Week is Sweetums. Although being known mostly for his role in the Muppet movie, where they constantly keep leaving him behind and he's chasing after them, or in Muppet Vision 3D. He's the only Muppet that kind of walks around and yells,
Anybody seen a bunny?
His first appearance was actually in the Tales from Muppet Land special, The Frog Prince. In the special, he plays an ogre who at one point captures Robin the Frog, and this dynamic worked so well that they kind of just became besties for the resties. And like all his other appearances, it's like a canonical thing that he's best friends with Robin the Frog. That's pretty cute. I like Robin. I like Sweetums. He's just a little sweet guy. I love Sweetums. I feel like Sweetums is kind of an underrated Muppet, and a lot of people don't actually even know his name. But if you want more Muppet content like this, hit subscribe, and I'll see you next week where I say something stupid like, who are Andy and Randy Pig? You know, I was wondering the same thing. Andy and Randy Pig are the featured Muppets of the week. These guys are Miss Piggy's dim-witted nephews, and they first appeared in the 1994 direct-to-video Muppet Classic Theater. They played the other 2 pigs with Miss Piggy and the 3 little pigs, but they didn't really come into form as Andy and Randy until Muppets Tonight. This is where they kind of got their dim-witted persona, and they'd say things like, "This job's too hard!" And I'll be entirely honest with you, I barely knew who these guys were. The most I knew about them was like in a Facebook ad that randomly happened.
It's just me. We thought you were a wolf. Yeah.
Every clip I've seen of these guys are pretty funny. I hope if there's ever a Muppet revival or something, these guys come back. So yeah, now you and I know, who is Dog Lion? This week's Muppet of the Week is Dog Lion. Dog Lion is another obscure Muppet that kind of only appeared in a few things. He appeared in random episodes of The Muppet Show, as a background character in the Muppet movie, and on the Muppets episode of The Cosby Show for some reason. Dog Lion's most infamous / first appearance, this appearance was on an episode of The Muppet Show in season 2002 with guest star Madeline Kahn. And the sketch is called Happy Girl Meets a Monster, which is really weird because this sketch is quite literally the same exact sketch that they used to introduce Beautiful Day Monster, which was Muppet of the Week a few weeks ago. He also has the same fate as Beautiful Day Monster. Apparently this type of sketch is a reoccurring thing in most Jim Henson media, and they've done it like a lot. So yeah, I feel like this was a pretty random pull for such a monumentous week for Muppet history. I don't know, I'm not the one picking these. And if you want more Muppet content like this, hit subscribe, and I'll see you next week where I'll genuinely be asking, who is Scooter? Scooter is this week's Muppet of the Week, and you probably already know who this guy is. Typically, Scooter was seen as like a backstage hand or gopher in The Muppet Show, and he was a talent coordinator in the 2015 Muppets. Of course, he's had some on-stage performances during The Muppet Show, and he's had roles in the Muppet movies, or even a road manager in the Muppet movie. He's kind of Kermit's right-hand man. He's a big fan of the Muppets, and he got the job with the Muppets because his uncle owned the original Muppet Show theater. I don't know how accurate this assessment is, but my headcanon with Scooter was that he was kind of like the Walter before Walter. And I'm sure if Muppet programming was still around today, I'm sure these two would have a lot of scenes together and they would work behind the scenes together. I think Scooter likes the Muppets. Is that true? I don't know. So join me next week where I'll ask, did you know that this penguin Muppet had a name? His name is Nicky Napoleon, and he is the Muppet of the Week. This penguin specifically is the conductor of Nicky Napoleon and the Emperor Penguins. This is the band of orchestra penguins that were first introduced in the short-lived 1985 Saturday morning cartoon slot called Jim Henson's Little Muppet Monsters. In Little Muppet Monsters, they had one kind of design, but eventually they would shift to the more standard, like, Muppet penguin design. This is the one used in the background of many Muppet movies, and of course their most prominent role, the extinct Muppet Vision 3D. Not only do they show up a lot in this attraction, but they're also the only Muppets inside of Muppet Vision 3D that were puppets, animatronics, and at one point there's even a CGI penguin that gets sucked into the vacuum Muppet. I always thought a penguin orchestra is kind of funny because, you know, they're wearing a suit. But now that's it for this week, and I'll see you next week where I'll discuss another Muppet of the Week. But there's still a lot of people that don't know who Nicky Napoleon is, so hold on, let me do a loop. I don't know. We got a pretty obscure Muppet this week. This guy's name is Angus McGonagall, the Argyle Gargoyle. Who's picking these Muppets of the Week? So this guy kind of has one prominent appearance, and it happened in The Muppet Show Season 4, Episode 17, which was the Star Wars episode. According to the episode, Angus McGonagall was supposed to be the celebrity guest on this particular episode, but once all the Star Wars characters showed up, he kind of got the boot, and he was no longer supposed to be the guest star. However, at one point in the episode, he did make it on the stage. And it's important to note that his gimmick, like literally all he does, is gargle music by George Gershwin. So when he sneaks on stage, he starts to do one of these performances and starts to gargle the song Summertime. And it doesn't last long until people get involved. The first person to get involved being Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill and Luke Skywalker are in the episode, like they're both hosting the show. I don't know, it's a whole thing. After this episode though, he kind of just shows up in the background and he hasn't been seen since. But yeah, that's about it for Angus McGonagall, the Argyle Gargoyle. This is a salute to all Muppets, but mostly Sam Eagle. Because last Friday was the 4th of July, this week's Muppet of the Week is Sam Eagle. Out of all the Muppets I've covered on this series, I think Sam is probably like the most recognizable one. However, not a lot of people know his origin. The first appearance by Sam Eagle was on the 1975 TV special The Muppet Show Sex and Violence, which was a pilot for The Muppet Show. And his character never really changes since this pilot. Although he wants to spread his morals and beliefs to the entirety of America, he is worn out all the time by his co-workers, the Muppets. However, one notable thing about The Muppet Show pilot is that he was kind of a main character backstage, but after that he's kind of subjected to like a secondary character and only kind of makes cameos and minor appearances. However, he does have two prominent appearances where he's kind of treated as a main character. The first one being in the now extinct Muppet Vision 3D. Here he is tasked with putting on a glorious 3-hour finale, which he calls a salute to all nations, but mostly America. However, he has to do it in a minute and a half.
It's a glorious 3-hour finale.
You got a minute and a half.
And his, what I'd argue, best role was in 2015's Muppets Most Wanted. This is the most main character he has been since 1975. He has an entire subplot as a CIA agent, and his chemistry with Ty Burrell is like crazy good. I mean, did you hear the interrogation song? Yeah, he has other prominent roles, like introducing Wayne and Wanda in The Muppet Show, and playing the role role of Sam Arrow in Muppet's Treasure Island. But if you were taking a test on Sam Eagle, that's pretty much all you need to know. So yeah, I think my work here is done. And who is Beauregard? That Muppet that looks exactly like Outback Steakhouse's bread is Beauregard, and he is the Muppet of the week. He first appeared on season 3, episode 10 of The Muppet Show. And after that, he kind of served as the dim-witted janitor of the Muppet Theater. And I'd argue that his most iconic role was him as a taxi driver in The Great Muppet Caper. Not only did he almost hit Gonzo with a taxi, but while bringing Gonzo, Kermit, and Fozzie to the Happiness Hotel, he would drive straight into the lobby. And that's pretty much it about Beauregard, so I'm gonna give you some fun facts about him. Beauregard is actually his last name, and he forgot his first name, and he kind of goes by Beau because it's relatively easy to spell. He doesn't know who his parents are, he doesn't know where he's from, but he remembers that when he was 3, he was a lumberjack, and at one point in his life, he boarded a bus that took him like directly to the Muppet Theater, and he kind of just asked for a job. He calls his mop Beauregard. He randomly has crazy levels of strength, being able to pick up anvils, couches, and pianos with relative ease. And on a more behind the scenes level, Beauregard's entire design and voice is inspired by Emmett Otter's best friend, Wendell Porcupine from Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas. And that's pretty much Beauregard's whole deal. So join me next week where I'll ask something like, who are Johnny Fiama and Sal Manella? This week's Muppets of the Week are Johnny Fiama and Sal Manella. These two are sharing a week because these are an iconic duo in Muppet history. Like literally, there is not a single time in Muppet history where one of them is showing up on screen and not the other. These guys are attached to the hip. Johnny Fiama is a crooner that sings in the style of Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, and of course, Tony Bennett. I say of course because Tony Bennett is actually his idol and they do a duet in Muppets Tonight. Sal Manella is his monkey bodyguard slash hype man, and both of these guys first appeared in Muppets Tonight Season 1, Episode 3. Now, although Johnny Fiama was created specifically for Muppets Tonight, Sal started off as a generic monkey puppet that showed up in Muppet's Treasure Island. So technically, I guess his debut is first, but he didn't have clothes on in that one. However, unlike characters like Andy and Randy Pig that kind of were only used in Muppets Tonight, these guys would go on to have speaking roles in future Muppet projects, like Muppets from Space, Muppets Wizard of Oz, and Muppets Haunted Mansion. Now, I don't know why Sal is called Salmonella, as like a pun on salmonella, the foodborne bacteria, but Johnny Fiama is named Johnny Fiama because he is an Italian stereotype and his last name is an anagram for mafia. But that's pretty much it for Johnny Fiama and Salmonella. So join me next week where I'll ask something like, this week's Muppet of the Week is the Screaming Goat. It could have been anybody. We didn't do Gonzo, Piggy, or Fozzie yet. The Screaming Goat, aka La Cabra, I hope I said that right, I do not speak Spanish. That means the goat in Spanish. And although this goat is not LeBron James, he did appear for the first time with his Screaming Goat persona in Season 1, Episode 5 of Muppets Now. Now, this gimmick of the Screaming Goat is definitely in reference to the internet meme from like 2011. That for some reason, companies, even in the year 2020, by the way, when this episode came out, still find hilarious. Because not only was he a one-time appearance in Muppets Now, no, he came back in the Muppets Haunted Mansion. Here he does the one thing that he ever does, which is screaming at Gonzo and Pepe. He did get new pupils in this one, though. However, similar to Salmonella from last week, his origin doesn't just come from whenever he just started screaming. This goat puppet was used for other means, just as, you know, a regular animal, as a background character in Muppets 2011, and had a speaking role on the WWE Tribute to the Troops episode in 2012. Here he walked up to one of my all-time favorite wrestlers, Daniel Bryan, now known as Bryan Danielson, which is his real name. And for that period of time, Daniel Bryan's whole gimmick was that people would tell him he had a beard like a goat. And after having a little confrontation with Animal said that he had a goat face. The screaming goat character kind of comes out of nowhere and has a little talk with Daniel Bryan. And here we learn that La Cabra is actually a relative to Daniel Bryan. It's not the first time that happened in WWE Muppets history. But for now, I think that's all I've got to say about the Screaming Goat and the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson. So I'll see you next week, and Howard Tubman is this week's Muppet of the Week. He first appeared in Season 1, Episode 2 of Muppets Tonight, and was typically featured on segments called The Tubmans of Porksmouth and Boarshed Revisited. He is a member of America's oldest and fattest family called the Tubmans of Porksmouth. He showed up in many Muppet projects like It's a Very Merry Muppet Christmas, where he was the dance choreographer for the Muppet Theater. Since the movie, he's appeared in a speaking role in the 2015 ABC Family show the Muppets, where he represents many iconic factions in Muppet music history, such as Jerry and the Actrix, Bobby Benson's Baby Band, Marvin Suggs and the Muppaphones, Manamana and the Snoths. He also made appearances in Muppets Now and Muppets Haunted Mansion. In Muppets Now, he was revealed to be a massive fan of RuPaul. But that is all on Howard Tubman. Statler and Waldorf are this week's Muppets of the Week. They first appeared in the Muppet Show pilot, The Muppet Show Sex and Violence. I made a video about that if you want to check that out. And after that, they kind of just became staples that showed up in like almost every Muppet project. They're basically attached to the hip, and that leads a lot of people to question which one is Statler and which one is Waldorf. Statler is the taller one with the, taller stature. He has bushy eyebrows and a long face. The way I remember that is because Statler has a T, and it's like a kind of very vertical letter, and then his face is very vertical. Waldorf is the one with the wider face and the bushy mustache, and I remember that, because W, Waldorf, wide face, that's a lot easier to remember. So now you know who's Statler and who's Waldorf. Now you can't just say, oh, that's the old guys from the Muppets. But that's about it for this video, and Fozzie Bear is this week's Muppet of the Week. Waka Waka. Fozzie Bear is actually a little younger than most of the Muppets. He first appeared in season 1, episode 1 of The Muppet Show, but after that he became a fan favorite reoccurring character. Although he is the stand-up comedian for the Muppets troupe, his jokes are like unbearably bad, if you ask like Statler and Waldorf. Like, this guy can't even catch a break with his mom. She's best friends with 2 of his biggest haters.
Statler, Waldorf, where'd you guys come from?
They're friends of mine, Fozzie. They come visit me every Christmas.
My mother is friends with you guys?
Do you know he's one of the only Muppets that like ears wiggle? Chew on that. I don't know. What else can I say about Fozzie? Here's my favorite joke that he's done.
Good grief, the comedian's a bear.
No, he's a nut. He's a wearing a necktie.
If you like dad jokes and corny humor, I'm sure Fozzie Bear is one of your favorites, and you already know all this stuff. But if you like this video, how about you consider following, give me a like, and I'll see you guys next time. Foo-Foo is this week's Muppet of the Week. Yeah, we got Miss Piggy's dog this week. I don't think it's National Dog Day week or something like that. Miss Piggy's dog, Foo-Foo, was first introduced in the 4th season of The Muppet Show. And the most interesting thing about Foo-Foo is that apparently she hates the color green, and she tries to destroy anything that's green. So yeah, that doesn't work out too great for Kermit the Frog.
Piggy! Will you come take your dog off the stage?
Apparently, the canonical reason of why she doesn't appear in Muppets 2011 is because Miss Piggy sent her to therapy for it. But Foo-Foo then appeared in Muppets Most Wanted in 2014, so I guess that she was able to sort out the whole hating green issue. Also, another canonical fact about Foo-Foo is that she has siblings called Wee Wee, Poo Poo, Num Num, Goo Goo, and Fred. I usually don't touch on this in these Muppet of the Week videos, but I thought this was pretty interesting. Similar to other Muppet dogs like Muppy, Foo-Foo had a real-life dog counterpart that was used for wide shots where she would walk around. They used one of those white teacup dogs that apparently belonged to the Muppet Show prop lady, and not only were they passionate about this dog being the counterpart for Foo-Foo, but as that dog would age and grow, they would update the actual Foo-Foo puppet to make it look almost identical to the real dog. That's some crazy commitment if you ask me. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say about Foo-Foo. If you guys like this video, leave me a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week. Hilda is this week's Muppet of the Week. Hilda was the seamstress of the Muppet Theater in The Muppet Show.
You know, I have many times noted that your craftsmanship as a seamstress is superb. It is, in fact, flawless, and you are a wonder.
So, what does a frog know?
But if you don't know who she is, I'm not gonna blame you, because literally she was in 1 season. Because she was introduced in episode 1, season 1 of The Muppet Show, and that was the only season of the show she was ever in. And the biggest reason for this was because her Muppet performer, Irene Asker, had decided that filming The Muppet Show in the UK was something that she didn't really want to do. From what I've seen, I don't think they ended on like bad terms or anything. I think she just decided that she did not want to do the Muppet Show in the UK, because she was in Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas and the Muppet movie. Any other time Hilda appeared, though, was in the background, and she just did not speak at all. She went from being in like every backstage segment in the first season of the Muppet Show to just being like barely in it at all. But I will say that Irene did a very good job portraying the Hilda character, because growing up, I thought she was one of the funniest characters on the show. But that's pretty much all I've got to say about Hilda. If you like this video, give me a like, give me a follow if you want more Muppets content like this, and I'll see you guys next week. Manamana. Manamana, and the Snooths are this week's Muppets of the Week. This trio first appeared doing their Manamana song on The Ed Sullivan Show in 1969, where Manamana himself was performed by Jim Henson. And the Snooths were performed by Frank Oz at the same time with both of his hands. Going back to Manamana, another fun fact about him was apparently that in early scripts he was referred to as Harry? Like his name was Harry, not Manamana. The Snooths, however, have always been the Snooths, and in the Muppet Encyclopedia, it claims that their species may come from the planet Koozebane, which is a planet inside the Muppet universe. Also, the Snooths have shown up way more than Manamana. Like, their filmography is so much longer because the joke kind of just happens when anyone says Manamana, and then they appear to just kind of sing along with them.
Well, Doctor, I see these strange creatures every time I say the word, phenomena.
I believe that this sketch is probably one of the most famous sketches in Muppet Show history. Probably because it was the first one ever. And that means that you probably know who they are. So I think my job here is done. If you like Muppet videos like this, hit follow, hit like, save it. I don't know. I break down the Muppet of the Week every single week. So if you're interested in that, give me a follow, like, and I'll see you guys next week. We got Chip this week?
I'm Chip. I'm the IT guy.
Chip from IT is this week's Muppet of the Week. Despite what I said in a TikTok about a week ago, Chip first appeared in Season 1, Episode 5 of the Jim Henson Hour, where he was voiced by Gord Robertson. However, I was kind of right by thinking that his Chip from IT persona first appeared in The Muppets 2015, because he didn't act exactly like that in the Jim Henson Hour. In the Jim Henson Hour, Chip worked for Gorilla Television. This was the pirate broadcasting operation seen in the Mupp Television segments. The whole gimmick with the Gorilla crew was that they despised popular television, which included the Muppets, so they would try to take over parts of the Jim Henson Hour and broadcast stuff that they thought should be on the air. And if you don't know what kind of shows I'm talking about, let me point you to the fact that Chip wore an Al for President pin on his lapel in his early appearances. Besides his debut, the most interesting thing about Chip is that he is a human character that like actually blinks, which is kind of creepy as hell. He also has Muppet teeth. If you watch my videos back in 2020, you know how I feel about Muppet teeth. Muppet teeth! That's scary stuff, man. But Chip wouldn't go on to get his From IT persona until we got to the 2015 show, The Muppets, where he was an IT guy on Up Late with Miss Piggy. And from then to now, he was voiced by Dave Goelz, and he is now Chip from IT forever. But that's pretty much all I've got to say about Chip from IT. And if you like videos like this, then give me a follow, give me a like, because I make Muppet videos like this every single week, breaking down the Muppet of the Week of the Muppets 70th anniversary. So yeah, I'll see you guys next week. Bobo is this week's Muppet of the Week.
The goat? The remote. The remote?
At least I think so. They were kind of late on this one for probably a few reasons. Although Bobo's puppet first appeared in the background of Muppets Take Manhattan, the first time he ever showed up as Bobo the Bear was in Season 1, Episode 1 of Muppets Tonight.
I'm the artist formerly known as Prince.
Ooh. And I'm the bear currently known as Not Amused.
In Muppets Tonight, he worked as the doorman, similar to Pops in The Muppet Show, Season 5. And besides that, you might know him as kind of a bad guy, because for some reason, he's always typecasted as the henchman to whatever bad guy the Muppets are going against in their movies. But in and out of these movies, he's not menacing at all. He really is just a kind, gentle little sweetheart who is he's just a dad. He's a dad, like it's confirmed in Muppets 2015 that he has a kid and a wife. Like he really is just a gentle giant, similar to Sweetums. And for the most part, he has no ill intent ever, and he's kind of just following orders and doing as he's told. I guess he's typecasted like this because he's a big bear, and he looks scary because he's like a realistic looking bear. Unlike Fozzie, who's a bear, but he looks more like a Muppet. I don't know, I feel like there's some kind of disconnect there, but I don't know what it is. Maybe I'll make a video about Muppets genealogy on my YouTube channel. But other than those things I just said, that's pretty much all there is about Bobo, aka the goat. out. And if you want more videos where I break down the Muppet of the Week, hit follow because I do this every single week, breaking down the 70th anniversary of the Muppets. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say about Bobo. I'll see you guys next week. Marvin Suggs and his Muppaphones are this week's Muppets of the Week.
And then the witch doctor, he told me what to do. He say, ooh, ee, ooh,
Marvin Suggs' whole gimmick is that he slams hammers on little Muppet creatures' heads that are supposed to be notes on a Muppaphone until they say ow and he can play a song using their head. He first appeared in The Muppet Show Season 1, Episode 5, where Kermit says that he found him at a bus waiting station in Toledo, Ohio. They weren't performing there, they were just waiting.
tuning up.
Ow. 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 Ow.
Oh, no! Move it, Marvin! Move it, Marvin! Move it!
Yeah, he's funny, but in canon, this guy's freaking evil. Him and his Muppaphone have a toxic relationship. He's claimed that their relationship works because of mutual love and respect, but these Muppaphones clearly do not like him. Also, apparently, whatever Muppaphone he's using at the time was not the original because some of the notes have gone flat. And I'm not talking about they went flat like they went out of tune. No, they went flat, like a pancake. At first, I was confused why this guy was kicking off October, but now I get it. This guy is kind of a psychopath. I mean, Mickey Mouse does the same thing in Steamboat Willie, and they made a lot of horror movies about him. When are we gonna do the Marvin Suggs and his Muppaphones horror film? When are we doing that? But besides him being low-key evil, that's pretty much all I've got to say about Marvin Suggs and his Muppaphones. But if you like videos like this, hit follow, hit like, because every single week I cover the Muppet of the Week in the Muppets 70th anniversary. But with that being said, I think that's all I've got to say. Free the Muppaphones, and I'll see you guys next week. It's finally October, and Uncle Deadly is this week's Muppet of the Week.
I am Uncle Deadly, better known as the Phantom of the Muppet Show.
Uncle Deadly is the blue reptilian Muppet, kind of looking like a dragon, in my opinion, who was also a seasoned stage actor. He first appeared on The Muppet Show Season 1, Episode 19, on the Vincent Price episode. However, he was properly introduced as the Phantom of the Muppet Show in Season 1, Episode 21.
I am not alone. I am traveling with my beautiful assistant and a hideously deformed monster.
Oh, hideously deformed is right.
Watch it. I'm the beautiful assistant.
The reason he became the Phantom of the Muppet Theater was because he died performing there a long time ago, where he was killed by the critics. He showed up a lot in the Muppet Show, but after that, he kind of just appeared as a background Muppet that they would randomly reference. However, in the Muppets 2011, where they brought back like every obscure Muppet Show character, he, along with Tex Richmond and Bobo the Bear, were the villains of the movie. However, he wasn't supposed to be missing that long because in the early 2000s, Kirk Thatcher was trying to develop a Goosebumps-style TV show called Uncle Deadly's House of Badness. And I imagine he would probably be like a Crypt Keeper kind of character. But the project never left the ground, and they don't really know if they filmed the pilot or even finished the script. In the later years of Uncle Deadly's career, you might know him more as the like fashionista of the Muppet crew, because in the 2015 ABC show The Muppets, Uncle Deadly worked wardrobe for Miss Piggy.
I was fitting Piggy for a new dress.
Oh, no, you forgot to cut out the tag. She knows her size.
No, please. I've woven such a cocoon of lies. She doesn't know her size, weight, or even how old she is.
And apparently he is still her assistant to this day because he appeared in Muppets Now as her assistant. But that's pretty much all I've got to say about Uncle Deadly. He is probably in my top 5 favorite Muppets of all time. And if you want more videos like this, hit follow, hit like, because I break down every single Muppet of the Week in the Muppets 70th anniversary. And I'm working on a video right now on my YouTube channel covering the 38 Muppets that I missed before I started this series. So everybody's got to be covered. So yeah, I think that's about it for Uncle Deadly. I'll see you guys next week. Lips is the wee Muppet of the Week, man.
That was gas station sushi.
And we love us some gas station sushi. All right.
Lips is the on-again, off-again trumpet player of the Electric Mayhem. He first appeared in Season 5 of The Muppet Show, but made his proper debut as a part of the Electric Mayhem in Season 5, Episode 4. Similar to Muppets like Fozzie, he has a unique mechanism inside of him that helps him do things that other Muppets can't do. The first unique thing about Lips is that his eyes can kind of turn inward on themselves, and his fingers can articulate and play the trumpet. In Muppet lore, he got his nickname Lips because on a cold day in elementary school, he got his lips stuck to a trumpet. But behind the scenes, he got his name Lips because his original voice actor, Steve Whitmire, was a big fan of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And in a lot of the imagery for the Rocky Horror Picture Show, there's a pair of lips on the promotional material. Also, another thing about Lips is that he wasn't featured that much in the Muppet movies, and he didn't talk a lot, mainly because it took Steve Whitmire almost 30 years to figure out what kind of character he wanted Lips to be. At first, his voice voice was going to be a parody of Louis Armstrong. But now that they figured it out, both Steve Whitmire's voice for him and Peter Lintz's voice for him in Muppets Mayhem are kind of just like a gibberish Southern accent. We're gonna talk like this, man.
I will say the devil is a son of this, but now, but
that's pretty much all I've got to say about Lips, man. And if you like videos like this, hit follow, hit like, because I break down the Muppets 70th anniversary Muppet of the Week every single week on this channel. And if you're interested, there's gonna be a very big video coming up on my YouTube channel pretty soon where I break down all the Muppets that I missed in this series. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say about Lips, and I'll see you guys next week. Big Mean Carl's this week's Muppet of the Week.
You know, you're supposed to buy cookies from me, not him.
I'm new. I don't understand the politics around here.
Big Mean Carl is a green horned monster that first appeared in season 1, episode 1 of Muppets Tonight. He follows that big Muppet trope of Muppet monsters that just eat things. He kind of has like a bottomless pit inside of his stomach and he can just eat literally whatever he wants. Apparently his name wasn't originally Big Mean Carl. It was Carl the Big Mean blank, because on his acts on Muppets Tonight, whatever he was doing would determine what goes in that blank. He's been Carl the Big Mean Bagpipe Eater, Carl the Big Mean Bunny, Carl the Big Mean Ventriloquist, and in Lady Gaga and the Muppets Holiday Spectacular, he was the Amazing Carl and Albert. But his most broad name by far, which allows him to be Big Mean to anything, is just Big Mean Carl. Something interesting about his puppet was that it was featured as a character named Grox on the Webulous World of Dr. Seuss, where they took off his iconic eyes, nose, horns, and eyebrows. You see it now? You see it? I think my favorite thing about Carl is his voice. It really leans into the him being angry all the time thing. And I think him just being so mad all the time is just really funny.
What did he say?
He said he wants to see you at his house.
Was he mad or is that just you?
I take messages. I don't judge tone!
But yeah, I think that's all I gotta say about Big Mean Carl. If you like videos like this, give me a like, give me a follow, because every single week I break down the Muppet 70th Anniversary's Muppet of the Week. Also, this weekend I am going to make a long video where I do this, but for 40 minutes, because I explain the first 38 Muppets of the week. So stay tuned for that. But I think that's about it for this video, and I'll see you guys next week. Gaffer is this week's Muppet of the Week.
Disgusting. No way.
Gaffer, or the backstage cat, or the theater cat, was the cat that appeared backstage on The Muppet Show. This one-eyed feline first showed up in season 4, episode 19 of The Muppet Show, and he rarely appears on stage, but he does have some ops. Sam Eagle and Foo-Foo actually really don't like Gaffer, which Foo-Foo makes sense because it's a dog, but Sam Eagle, dude, loosen up. Gaffer's one good eye actually has a mechanism where it can blink, but he has shown up with 2 eyes, one prominent appearance being in a Muppet Labs sketch on season 4, episode 22. He doesn't appear in many Muppet movies, but his most prominent role in one was in The Great Muppet Caper. Here he works at the Happiness Hotel, and apparently the rat problem that they had, he solved it by hiring the rats as bellhops. But the real reason why Gaffer even exists as a character is because Jim Henson wanted Catherine Mullen to use Gaffer as kind of a training character so she could get used to how the monitor worked. And Gaffer wasn't too hard to control or voice because, you know, he's a cat. But I think that's pretty much all I've got to say about Gaffer the backstage cat. If you guys enjoyed this video, give me a like, give me a follow, because every single week I break down the Muppet 70th Anniversary's Muppet of the Week. And if you're interested, I made a video on my YouTube channel breaking down every single Muppet of the Week that I missed on this series, from 1 to 38. So go check that out. The link is either in my bio on TikTok or just somewhere on the screen on this YouTube short. But that'll be it for Gaffer. I'll see you guys next week. George the Janitor is this week's Muppet of the Week.
I am sick and tired of cleaning up after them lousy pigs.
Well, George, you can always quit.
What? And get out of show business?
George, will you move the body?
All right, I'll move the body. Move the body.
George first appeared as a janitor on the first Muppet Show pilot episode, which was called The Muppets Valentine's Show. The entire special is about love, and George finds out here that the only thing that he loves is his mop. If you don't know him from that, though, you might actually know him from seasons 1 and 2 of The Muppet Show. He almost primarily worked as the backstage janitor until he was replaced by Beauregard in season 3, and apparently he's been working at the Muppet Theater since J.P. Gross bought it, so people believe that he's probably the oldest employee that the Muppet Theater has. He does appear sometimes on stage, usually as the dance partner for Mildred Huxtetter in the At the Dance segments. And you know how I said he loves mops? He actually discovered an act on the show entitled The Rag Mops. But George the Janitor's filmography does not go that deep into Muppets history. In fact, he didn't even come back when everybody came back in Muppets 2011. So his final appearance to date was in season 1, episode 2 of Muppets Tonight, where he simply was being a janitor. And then he never showed up again. But I think that's all I gotta say about George the Janitor. If you like this video, give me a like, give me a follow, because every single week I break down the Muppet 70th Anniversary's Muppet of the Week. And if you're interested in a long form version of this kind of video, I talk about the first 1 through 38 Muppets on a video on my YouTube channel, link in the bio or on the screen if you're on YouTube Shorts. So yeah, that's pretty much it for George the Janitor. R.I.P. little bro, and I'll see you guys next week. Baskerville the Hound is this week's Muppet of the Week.
Excuse me, miss.
Baskerville the Hound was the small, shaggy hound dog with glasses that was most known for his work in The Muppet Show. However, his first appearance predates that by a lot, and he first appeared in a series of Purina dog chow commercials in 1962. Here he worked as a duo act with famous Muppet Rowlf the Dog, and in each of these commercials it involved a lot of slapstick humor, and Baskerville the Hound was typically the butt of all of these jokes.
Purina dog chow will really make a hit with your dog. Are you sure it'll make a hit? Positive.
Also, this is a side note for me. Growing up, I always thought his name was Barksville the Hound or Bakersville the Hound. It actually took me into this exact video where I found out his name was Baskerville. So that means I'm either really bad at hearing or I'm dyslexic. I hope I'm saying his name right now, which I think I am, because the name actually comes from the title of a Sherlock Holmes novel, which is called The Hound of Baskervilles, which is why his first appearance on The Muppet Show was in a Sherlock Holmes parody on season 1, episode 3. He played Dr. Watson and Rowlf played Sherlock Holmes. It was bringing back that duo act from the Purina dog chow commercials. And besides The Muppet Show and random background appearances, that's all you need to know about Baskerville the Hound. But if you like this video, give me a like, give me a follow, because every single week I break down the Muppet 70th Anniversary's Muppet of the Week. And there's only 6 left after this, so we gotta keep this train rolling. If you want a longer form version of this kind of video, I made one breaking down the 1st through 38 Muppets of the Week. And that video is on my YouTube channel. The link is in my bio or on the screen if you're on YouTube Shorts. So with that being said, I think that's all I've got to say about Baskerville the Hound. And this week, I'll see you guys next week. The Great Gonzo is this week's Muppet of the Week.
You guys okay?
Why are you hopping up and down? Because I'm hopping mad.
Guy's got a sense of humor.
We picked up a weirdo.
Gonzo first appeared technically not as Gonzo, as playing a character called Snarl in the 1970 TV special The Great Santa Claus Switch. He was the same puppet as Gonzo, but he was voiced by a different voice actor, and he was not called Gonzo. So I guess the canon reason for that is that it was Gonzo playing a character in a TV special. But the first time Gonzo ever appeared as Gonzo was in season 1, episode 1 of The Muppet Show, where he became Gonzo that we all know and love.
Much, thank you. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I will eat this rubber tire to the music of the flight of the bumblebee. Music, maestro.
And since he's become this version of Gonzo, he's always been voiced by Dave Gold. He's one of the rare Muppets that has always been voiced by the same voice actor and still is to this day. There's a lot to say about Gonzo, so I'm just gonna talk about some of his favorite things. That he loves to do death-defying stunts, like balancing a piano on his nose, shooting himself out of a cannon and leaving a Gonzo-shaped hole in the wall, hanging out with Rizzo and Pepe, his 2 best buds, and probably just chickens in general. For the longest time, he's been dating Camilla, who is a Muppet chicken. He's also flirted with real chickens, and I'm pretty sure at one point he was very mesmerized by the sight of Big Bird being a thing. His style was also another huge part of Gonzo's character. He always dresses in some dapper clothes. But the biggest thing about Gonzo as a character is that nobody knows what animal he's supposed to be. He's been called a thing, or whatever, a turkey, kinda, but not so much. And of course, in Muppets from Space, he was called an alien, which they kind of said is not actually a part of the Muppet lore, and that's just events of a movie. But I think that's why me and so many other people are drawn to Gonzo, is that he's unapologetically himself, even though he doesn't really know what he is. But unfortunately, I think that's all I've got to say about Gonzo. I could really talk about him for like a whole hour, and if you're interested in me doing something like that, let me know in the comments down below, because I will do it on my YouTube channel, which you should subscribe to, by the way. And if you're watching on TikTok, you should give me a like and follow as well, because I post weekly Muppet of the Week breakdowns for the Muppet 70th Anniversary every single week on this account. And I have a long form video of it on my YouTube channel, link in bio, or on the screen if you're on YouTube Shorts, blah, blah, blah. I do this every single week. But I also don't don't really know how much longer I'm going to be doing this because Gonzo was the 65th Muppet of the Week, and there's only going to be 70 of these. So that means there is only 5 Muppets left. So who's going to be next week? I don't know. But until then, happy Thanksgiving, America. This week's Muppet of the Week is Beverly Plume.
Oh, I'm so excited. Oh, I can't wait for you to start.
Beverly Plume first appeared on the Okie Dokie Cooking Show on Season 1, Episode 1 of Muppets Now. She appeared in like every single episode for some reason, I don't know. And then she appeared in Muppets Haunted Mansion, and that's it. However, if I end there, that is a really boring video for this week, and I'm not going to do that to you guys who have followed me. Hopefully, you know, I do these every single week. I break down the Muppet 70th anniversary every single week, so hit follow if you're interested in that. I'm going to keep going, though, so let me just continue. The puppet for Beverly Plume first appeared in the Muppets Family Christmas. This was a crossover TV special between the Muppets, Fraggle Rock, and Sesame Street, and this turkey puppet, behind the scenes referred to as Tom Turkey, appeared here as the turkey that was meant to be cooked by the Swedish Chef and served for Christmas dinner. But it takes a while for us to even get to that point because he tries to redirect Chef into wanting to cook Big Bird and makes Gonzo really jealous by flirting with Camilla. The next time this puppet appeared was in the Muppet Christmas Carol. It appeared as a character named Martin the Christmas Turkey, and he was being sold by a random Frackle. The next time the turkey appeared was in Muppets Tonight. This iteration of the turkey was called Taylor the Turkey. Taylor appeared in Season 1, Episode 2 of the show. In the sketch, Taylor is seen sitting in a roasting pan inside of an oven, and Taylor thinks that this is a sauna. And then directly before we get to Beverly Plume Disney Plus territory, the 4th iteration of this turkey is called Mr. Warble. Mr. Warble first appeared in Season 2, Episode 47 of Moppa Top Shop, a show that I didn't even know existed. Then he made a brief cameo in the Muppets Bohemian Rhapsody cover, and then the final appearance of Mr. Warble would happen on the November 27th, 2008 episode of The Today Show. Supposedly, he did a cooking show with Al Roker, but I have looked so hard online and I have not found footage of that or photos of that. If you guys can find photos, leave them in the comments down below. But yeah, on this Thanksgiving Day, I think that's all you need to know about Beverly Plume, and not just Beverly Plume, all 5 iterations of the Muppet Turkey. This is most definitely my first Thanksgiving special, so hit follow, hit like if you like what you see, because every single week I break down the Muppet 70th Anniversary's Muppet of the Week, and there's only 4 left, so if you want to be here for the grand finale, do all the things I just said. But until then, I'll see you guys next week. This is a Muppet News Flash. The Newsman is this week's Muppet of the Week.
Work was started today on the remodeling of the Muppet News Studio, and it is said that
The Newsman first appeared on Season 1, Episode 2 of The Muppet Show. His whole shtick is that he says, "This is a Muppet News Flash," and then he reports on, like, the craziest things ever. Throughout Season 1, he does not just report on the news. He does have interviews with some of the special guests on The Muppet Show, and randomly has disappearing glasses. But besides The Muppet Show, the Newsman didn't show up a lot as an actual newsman. He did do some breaking news in The Great Muppet Caper, Muppets Family Christmas, The Jim Henson Hour, and Muppets Most Wanted. Before he was called The Newsman, he went by a few different names, kind of behind the scenes. Early during Season 1, he was called the Muppet Reporter. In Season 2, he became the Newsman, but he's also been called the Muppet News Reporter and the Muppet Newscaster. But I think that's all I've got to say about the Newsman. If you like this video, give me a like, give me a follow, because every single week I break down the Muppet 70th Anniversary's Muppet of the Week. However, I must warn you that the Newsman is actually week 67 of the Muppet 70th Anniversary, so after him, there's only 3 Muppets left. Leave a comment down below if you want me to continue this series after the Muppets actually stop doing this for the 70th Anniversary, and maybe touch on some Muppets that they missed in this celebration. But like and follow now if you want to be a part of the big Muppet 70th Anniversary Emil YouTube channel breakdown finale, whatever it's being called. But I think that's about it for this video. I'll see you guys next week. Fozzie's mom is this week's Muppet of the Week?
Oh, Mom, I want you to meet someone. This is my boss, my friend, my inspiration, the one who gave me my big break in the show business, Kermit.
Oh yeah, the lizard.
Fozzie's mom, aka Ma Bear, first appeared on Season 2, Episode 16 of The Muppet Show. In this episode, she was invited by Fozzie to watch him perform, and he made a big deal about it, but she was actually sleeping whenever he was trying to perform, so she didn't even see it. And then in Season 4, Episode 10, she joined Fozzie on stage in a musical number called Knees Up, Mother Brown. Her biggest role to date was probably in A Muppet's Family Christmas. This is when she hosted in her house a whole slew of Muppet characters, the whole gang from Sesame Street, Doc and Sprocket from Fraggle Rock, and all the Fraggles were apparently in her basement inside of a Fraggle hole. And I know you don't have to tell me in the comments. I know it's a hole that leads to Fraggle Rock. You don't have to clarify. But besides A Muppet Family Christmas, she showed up a lot in The Muppets Go to Walt Disney World, where she walked around Walt Disney World Resort, and I believe she met Michael Eisner. And in The Muppet Christmas Carol, she plays Ma Foswig, which is again just Fozzie's mom. However, circling back to A Muppet Family Christmas, there is a few lore details dropped about her in that special. Here we find out that Statler and Waldorf are actually friends with Ma Bear, and they come over every single Christmas.
They're friends of mine, Fozzie. They come visit me every Christmas.
My own mother is friends with you guys?
Which I said it in the Fozzie Muppet of the Week video, that is a crazy thing to do to your son. That's your son's biggest haters. Ma Bear, or should I say Emily Bear, because that's what Kermit calls her whenever he picks up a phone inside of her house. And yeah, I think that's all you need to know about Fozzie's mom, aka Ma Bear. If you like this video, give me a like and hit follow because I make these videos every single week. However, this is week number 68 of the Muppets 70th anniversary celebration, and there's only 2 more Muppets left that they're going to showcase, so if you guys are interested in me continuing this, leave a comment, but if not, just stick around for the grand finale in 2 weeks, because that's whenever it's going to end. I believe I'm posting the last video on Christmas Day, which is in fact the day that the Muppets 70th anniversary ends. So there'll probably be more Muppet content after that, and we'll see what the future holds in 2026. But until then, I'll see you guys next week. The mutations are this week's Muppets of the Week.
Well, they aren't the Temptations.
No, those are the mutations.
The Mutations is a trio of full-bodied Muppet monsters, whose name is a parody and reference to the vocal group The Temptations. They first appeared on The Muppet Show Season 1, Episode 2, where they functioned as backup singers for Connie Stevens, as she sang A Teenager in Love. However, after that, the 3 would remain in the background, but they would be more background dancers instead of singers. Probably because their mouth was fixtured in a way where it could not move at all. And it would make more sense if they were dancing, you know? Besides singing A Teenager in Love, probably their most infamous appearance was in the intro of every single episode of The Muppet Show from seasons 2 and beyond. 2 of the 3 mutations always kick it off with Sweetums, Timmy Monster, and Thog. But besides like the Muppet Show era of the Muppets, these guys really weren't seen in anything else. In fact, the last time the original suits showed up was in the background of The Great Muppet Caper, and then they would remake them for the reboots in 2011. But I think that's all I've got to say about the mutations. If you like this video, give me a like, give me a follow, because every single week I break down the Muppets 70th Anniversary's Muppet of the Week. However, I must warn you that with the mutations entry into the 70th anniversary, there is only one Muppet left, and I'm pretty sure I know who it is, because she has not been featured yet, and I'm sure she'd be really mad if she wasn't in the celebration. But if you guys want me to continue the Muppet of the Week after Disney and the Muppets stop showcasing these Muppets, I'll do so without the 70th anniversary branding, and talk about some of the Muppets that they missed in the 70th celebration. But yeah, I think that's all I've got for this week. I'll see you guys next week for the Muppets 70th anniversary grand finale. Merry Christmas and happy holidays, everybody. Miss Piggy is the final Muppet of the Week.
And luckily, we're not dressed alike this time.
No, no, we are not.
Well,
we are not. I wouldn't be caught dead in that.
Well,
If you don't know Miss Piggy, what are you doing? Miss Piggy first appeared on Season 1, Episode 1 of The Muppet Show. She was in a chorus of Muppet singers, and she really wasn't supposed to be a big character in The Muppets. She was kind of just supposed to be a generic pig character that a lot of people end up liking, and then they brought her back more and more like the Miss Piggy that we know today, mainly because she was obsessed with flirting with Kermit the Frog. And her lovely nature towards Kermit, mixed with those karate moves, made a perfect storm for a huge fan favorite character. And more evidence that I have that she was supposed to be like another background character is this Lady Pig's appearance in The Muppet Show Sex and Violence. She looks very similar to the first iteration of Miss Piggy. But in the segment titled Return to Beneath the Planet of the Pigs, the character is called Piggy Lee. So if you guys have been wondering what's Miss Piggy's full name, maybe it's Miss Piggy Lee? Who knows? Some of Miss Piggy's most famous roles, though, include Nurse Piggy in Veterinarian's Hospital, First Mate Piggy in Pigs in Space, and of course, Emily Cratchit in The Muppet Christmas Carol.
It does, doesn't it?
But she's not just a one-hit wonder. Miss Piggy kind of can do everything she wants to because kind of the world is her oyster. Besides her acting and karate abilities, she considers herself a great singer, claims that she can play a few different instruments, including the trumpet and the kazoo. She can bend metal bars just at her own will. She's a model, she can tap dance, she can swim, she can drive a truck, drive a motorcycle. She was a TV host, and like Rowlf says in A Muppet Family Christmas, no one can make an entrance like Miss Piggy. But with that being said, I think that's all I've got to say about Miss Piggy and the entire Muppets 70th anniversary, because this was the last Muppet of the week. If you guys are interested in this series that I've done, I've been going since like May 16th all the way to now, and then in October I uploaded a video getting all the ones before that. That video is on my YouTube channel. All the the shorts should be uploaded on my YouTube channel. And here are my TikToks starting after Beautiful Day Monster. All of the shorts for this series should be here too. But you know what? Because of some comments that people have left, and just me thinking this is a fun series, I don't think this is it for me. I kind of already have a Muppet of the Week picked out for next week. And I think moving forward, I'm gonna highlight a bunch of new Muppets that weren't in the 70th anniversary. Now, I don't know if I'm gonna do this in a weekly format or if I'm just gonna upload it whenever I feel like. But I can assure you that there is more Muppet of the Week style content in the pipeline. And with that being said, I'll see you guys next time.